informal, just you and me talking. But I want to start today by just asking you, for those who have not had a chance yet to meet you and had the pleasure, would you mind sharing your journey to real estate and your journey in real estate so far?
Sure, I'll do that as quickly as possible. So I
It's a
started
big
actually,
question.
yeah, I started in full-time real estate in 2015. I did 3 years at Coldwell Banker with my stepdad and my mom, who were brokers there previously. And then in December of 2018, so basically January of 19, I came to EXP after getting my broker's license and kind of figuring out what I wanted to do in life and what the next step was. And instead of opening a brokerage and doing deep research, EXP made more sense. So we moved, just my brother and I and a couple of friends that were wanting to try something new came to EXP, and that was basically the beginning of 2019. And then that's been a wild ride ever since. And we basically grew from a very ragtag, small, unorganized team to the number one team in a state. We got 156 agents across 4 islands now. We'll do hopefully 1,000 transactions. We're on track to be right about there this year. So that's the quick version.
We all have problems in life. I don't want my problems. I want your problems. That's amazing, dude. Congratulations. That's really incredible. And I know it took a village to get you there, but way to go leading the team to that size. That's amazing. We're talking about Zillow Flex, and I guess the first question when I hear, did you say 160 agents?
We're at 156 as of today.
156. All right. So when you think about that, first question I have for you is, are all of them on your Zillow Flex team?
No, they're not. So to get onto Zillow Flex, and just for perspective's sake, we're on track to probably do 250 Flex transactions this year. So it's about 25% of the business, 25% of the business is what it's been the last couple of years. It's growing a little bit because we've expanded. We started with one Flex account on the Big Island, and then we got a second one on Maui, then a third one on Oahu, and then a fourth one on Kauai about 8 months ago. So it's been a expansion process over the last like 3 years since we started in Flex. And so that proportion of business is growing based on our expansion across the state. But to get on the Flex team, there's some pretty, I want to say stringent, but there's just requirements. There's some barriers to entry that you have to go through to get onto the program. So not necessarily every agent, one, wants to be on the program, or two, kind of qualifies. Some agents are more kind of part-time, and they're kind of doing the side hustle type thing, and we support them in doing that. We don't have any strict production requirements to get on the team in the first place. And
Mhm.
so if you want to get on the Flex team, there is like a 4-day boot camp that you must go through. There's a bunch of homework that you got to complete in order to get onto it, some online training. And so that's a pretty good barrier to entry to ensure that once we put somebody on the program, they're serious and dedicated to real estate, because we don't, Flex isn't successful with that part-time agent who kind of can take a call here or there and not do the follow-up and not be in their CRM every single day. So we got to set that expectation early on. And so far that's been helpful. In the beginning, it was kind of like a free-for-all. Everybody could get on when we first started. And then we've, over the last 3 years, really refined that down to, you got to prove yourself. You got to earn your way onto the team.
Okay. Um, I'm going to start back at the beginning first because I want to ask you a ton of questions about that boot camp and everything else. But go back to what you said about the growth path of through the islands there. Um, were you a premier agent first, and is that how you won your Flex account? Do you feel like you would have gotten your Flex account regardless, if you had or had not been? What was that process like?
Oh yeah, okay. I'll talk about that kind of origin story. So early on, I've always been a contrarian, right? So early in my career, all the old ladies in my Coldwell Banker office said that Zillow was the enemy and they were terrible, and I was like, huh, I gotta look into the Zillow thing. And so I looked into the Zillow thing, and I could spend $300 buying leads in like the worst, cheapest zip code on the island. There were lots, lava rock lots for $9,000 in the zip code, but that's all I could afford was $300. So I tried it, and I started getting closings out of it. And so basically every year for about, from 2016 up until 2022, I believe, is when we got the Flex account. I would just double my spend. Like my salesperson would call me. So like after year one, I started doing $600, and then I did $1,200, and then I did $2,000, and then it got all the way up to $6,000 a month. And it was always a great return on investment. I got to build my database up, and I went to the Zillow Unlock event. I think it was called the Premier Agent Forum, their annual conference in
Mhm.
somewhere like 2018. And I met my advisor there who was selling me the leads, and they had rolled out this flex program at this conference. It was they announced it and they said they're going to test it in certain markets. And I basically told her, I said, hey, I want to be the guy in Hawaii. Like when this thing comes to Hawaii, I just instantly knew like this is a gold mine. Like having a referral based program with unlimited amount of leads. I'm like, this is something that I want to be a part of. So I told her, I said, hey, what do I got to do to be the guy in Hawaii? And she basically gave me some good advice. She's like, hey, you got to grow your team. You got to have systems in place. You got to have accountability. You got to really be, have a formal operation. I didn't at the time. We were just a ragtag crew kind of doing whatever. And so that was part of the motivation of developing the sales team and creating systems and becoming more organized was I knew I kind of had to build it before they would come. And so that's been the mentality all along is we build it before they come. And that's started with the first account. And I was losing hope in the beginning. Um, it was like 3 or 4 years from when they launched it before they brought it to Hawaii. Everything comes to Hawaii last, right? All the fads, everything that's popular, music comes here last. And so definitely Zillow Flex came here last. I think they had been in like all 50 states before they came to Hawaii. And I was somewhat losing hope that it would ever come here. And then all of a sudden I got the call, and it's a stringent process. I mean, you got to go through a multiple interview process. They examine your operation. They look at your past history with Premier Agent, because if you have proven history with Premier Agent, it shows that you understand how to work these leads and convert these leads. And I think having a long history is probably helpful because it shows that you have longevity in the program versus somebody who maybe buys leads for 6 months and then quits. So all of that definitely culminated in the initial Flex account, and we saw some success early in that initial Flex account. And so when we looked at expanding the team to Maui, one of the carrots on that stick for the agents there was, look, I cannot guarantee that we'll get Zillow Flex on Maui, but if we build it, they will come. I'm confident of that. So if we build the team there, we get a critical mass of agents, and we start operating our systems there, I can go to Zillow and say, hey, we have an operation here ready to go. And that's basically what happened on Maui. And I said, okay, that model worked, so let's do it on Oahu. So same thing, we recruited agents on Oahu. We said, hey, no guarantees, but I know if we build it, they will come. And that happened on Oahu. And then same thing with Kauai. And we're actually looking to do that in Vegas next, and some other markets with some partner teams that we're working with. So um, definitely there's some investment, I think, up front that you have to make. And there's no guarantees. I mean, Zillow's a different entity. They're very sometimes um, coy about making commitments and stuff, but they've
Mhm.
been a good partner. If I've done my part and laid the groundwork, they've been a good partner and they've come through. So if you build it, they will come.
Do you feel like an agent today who was not a premier agent or team would stand a chance at landing a Zillow Flex account?
I don't know that their kind of processes behind the scenes. This is my opinion, and this is a discussion I'm having with a bunch of my friends that are flex partners now. Is I think the best way to approach that is to partner with an existing flex partner in a market. And this is something that I've actually had conversations with the leadership about is, hey, if I got an EXP friend in Idaho and they're interested in flex but they've never done it before, but I will put my name on it. I'll help them get off the ground, set up their systems, train their agents. Is that something that you would consider? And they're definitely open to that. So I think you have to have some level of connection already, because this is a big risk I know on the Zillow side of it, they're making it. If you look at the cost per lead that they sell on the Premier Agent side, if they're going to give you 100 leads a month, and those leads are 3, 4, 500 bucks a piece on the Premier Agent side, you can do the math and know what kind of investment they're making. And if you cannot perform and convert, that's a huge loss of money. So there's a big risk in the Zillow side that I think we got to give them some confidence that we can perform before they're gonna commit to those partnerships. Yeah.
When you think about that you mentioned the sort of I think you said 14 times. Is there a standard on your team? Like I was talking with we have the largest Zillow Flex team, which is Casa, right?
Mhm.
And I was talking with Anthony that runs the ISA group, and they have a standard. 3 phone calls the first day, 3 phone calls, blah 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 blah, all the way up to day 21. They have it all mapped out how many calls per day you're going to make and all that. Is that something that's part of your 4-day boot camp or just part of the expectations?
Yeah, it's part of, and I call it a framework, right? Is like it's one of those things we have documented, we have a clear guide on it, it's all built out. But like everything else, there's a lot of nuance in this business. And does it make sense to run it word for word all 14 days? 50% of the time, maybe it does. 25% of the time, maybe you got to do 75% of it. And sometimes it doesn't make any sense at all. We got to do other things. So the agents have that as a framework. And it's just like the appointment, location, motivation. It's a framework. Like you don't have to follow the script word for word and ask every single question. You got to, that's a skill set that you got to build. So same thing with the follow up, but that's the expectation is like if you're not going through a deliberate 14-day process of trying to reach out, then you're just not doing enough. And so we train. That's the expectation. The expectation is, and the aspiration is that we get there. We're not always there, but I think the ones that are doing it to the best of their ability are definitely seeing the most success.
I'm curious, and it may be different in different situations, but um, w- what is that messaging during those 14 days of contact like? Does it evolve? Is it just the thing, hey, you want an appointment? Hey, you want an appointment? How do you approach it?
No, it's we're very focused on providing value without people asking. So one of my big philosophies just in business in general is provide tons of free value into the universe and the marketplace, and the marketplace will reward you for it. And so we try and do that on a very small directed scale in this first 14 days. And so it's not just like, hey, I can't get a hold of you. I'm following up. Hey, I can't get a hold of you. I can't. It's providing a market report, providing a first time home buyer guide. Providing things of value. I have a YouTube playlist with 32 videos about everything you need to know to buy real estate in Hawaii. Providing agents provide that, and so doing those things and following up with the person and continuing to hit them with valuable content. Um, to me is something that then earns their trust. So if I don't know you, Brian, and you send me three really valuable pieces of content, I'm like, maybe on the fourth call, I'm gonna pick up and talk to this guy because it seems like he knows what he's talking about and he can help me, versus like just trying to get a hold of somebody and badgering them. So it's all focused around that via text messages with video links, text messages and emails with static, PDFs or landing pages and things. So very value based, trying
Okay,
to earn the business.
I like that. Yeah, and I kind of think of it in terms of wall phone mentality versus cell phone mentality. Wall phone mentality is a call was special, and if somebody rang, you were going to pick up,
Answer
right? If
it.
you came home and you had voicemail on your answering machine, back when it was that sort of weird kind of tape recorded thing, you were
Yep.
going to listen to it. I
Yep.
can't tell you last time I listened to my voicemails. I don't listen to them. And to your point, I'm busy. I got four kids plus, I
Big job.
90,000 children whose careers I care about. I'm busy. And so yeah, my financial advisor has been trying me the past like 2 weeks, and I'll probably answer on the sixth call when I find myself available. But yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it's that sort of thing. Um
And, and
when
and another script that I really like that we train on is the script of, hey, I just want to make sure I didn't drop the ball. Hey, Brian, I know you're looking at this property over here in 123 Banana Street. And I wanted to make sure I didn't drop the ball. So I'm just calling to reach out again and provide you any information that you need. And not the like, hey, I'm just trying to get a hold of you. I mean, hey, I'm just trying to get a hold of you. Hey, I'm following up. Like putting the onus on me that you're not offending me if you don't pick up. I just want to make sure I'm not dropping a ball because that's my work ethic and how hard I'm going to work for you. So that's another kind of that messaging is built into that 14-day process too.
uh, so when you think about the conversion process, right? There's going to be breakage at any given point, right? The getting past the Zillow qualification call and getting them to an agent, there's going to be that change of mind on the phone. Maybe the agent sucks, or there's just not that immediate kind of coolness where they're trying to set the appointment, but that doesn't happen. Or they set the appointment, but they don't show. Or they set the appointment, they show, they don't like that house, and then they ghost the agent, or any point along the way thereafter. From your experience, I'm trying to be effective in helping other teams with their conversion doors as well. But where do you see the biggest challenge in conversion?
I think it starts with the setting of the appointment in the beginning. It all starts top of funnel. If you're not good at having that initial conversation and doing it high energy, being positive, being confident, those are things that really are hard to teach. Like you just kind of have to learn by doing, and letting people know like it has a huge effect. If you are smiling when you answer the phone and you are positive versus like I'm apprehensive and I'm not sure if I'm going to have the answers, it vastly changes the voice on the other side. And we have all kinds of case studies around this where we will play two different calls, right? And you can hear one call where somebody, new agent, sounds very apprehensive and shy versus experienced agent who's just like bubbly and happy and positive, and you can just feel their smile through the phone. The way that the person on the other end of the phone reacts to that, even if they're a very cold, standoffish person, after 3 or 4 minutes of the being smashed with positivity, you hear that the voice change, they lighten up, the conversation gets better, and then it goes on for 15 minutes. And so that I think is something that we definitely focus on training heavily, and then showing up in person and actually doing that via a video call or doing it in person. Because even if that person is not ready, even if they're just a looky loo, like if you can make that positive personal connection and in over the long run stay in touch with somebody, and that's for me has been foundational in my career. Is I just understand like when you're buying in Hawaii, it's a dream. Like for most people, it's a dream, and you're here on vacation and you want to go see this beautiful house that's next door to your Airbnb. Like you may not buy today, but if the dream is alive, sometime in the next 10 years, you're going to make it happen. And so that's the mentality we really want agents to understand, is like that first initial call could be the beginning of a decades long relationship, which could result in business, maybe directly or definitely indirectly if you do a good job. But I think if you do nothing else right, if you can do that first call right, you can kind of stumble through other things and not be perfect at contracts, not be perfect at negotiation. But if you have that positive relationship, it'll all work out in the end. So that's definitely the most important part, is that initial, that it that initial 60 seconds, 2 minutes. It's critical. It's critical when you're taking an online phone call of somebody you don't know. Critical.
Yeah, I can. It's funny, and the same is true, by the way, of new agents too. Like we jokingly say that Candace and Melissa, who lead FastCap for the university, we jokingly say they've got their groupies, right? Because they've got agents who show up to every single cohort of FastCap or at least multiples. And man, when you look at their results, duh, I mean they view that as their kind of accountability.
Some
Hey,
and like the fast cap, some of our best, most successful agents, when they heard about fast cap, signed up for it. And I'm like, you've been doing this for 3 years and you crush. And they're like, yeah, but you said it's great, and I'm gonna go do it because you said the training's gonna be good. And then they come back and they rave. So it's great for us from a marketing standpoint because they provide the proof of concept to the new agent who may be on the fence of signing up and doing it. And again, fast cap is actually another one of our requirements now. So in order to get on Flex, you must do fast cap. So you don't have to necessarily do it before, but you have to be scheduled and you have to complete it to stay on the program, because sometimes the scheduling doesn't work, where our boot camps don't necessarily align with fast cap. Fast cap may like this next August. We just did a boot camp last week where fast cap is until August, but we're making an exception there. As long as you're registered, as long as you've completed, you're going to be good to go. We'll put you on the program. So, but yeah, thank you for fast cap, because we're big
you're
believers in it.
very welcome for Fast Cap, and I think actually this one on August 6th is going to be like regular time for you guys because we're doing it
The evening one.
5 p.m. Pacific. Yeah, so
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
That's funny. I'm glad that your team's able to be there. Hey, in the 60 seconds I have left with you, um, help me help you. If you could wave your magic wand and make me go find out anything from another Zillow Flex team that's successful, what would one or two things would you really want me to go bring back to you?
The resource library, and that's why I'm giving you everything that I got. Is I could tell you a perfect example. We're starting with Zillow seller leads. Yesterday we got turned on for Zillow seller leads. So over the last 30-45 days, we've been building out, preparing for this program. And one of the most valuable things I did was I reached out to my friend Joe Oz from the East Coast, and he has been having Zillow seller leads for like 2 years, and he just gave me his folder, Google Drive folder, of all of their resources. And we just went through that, rip off and duplicated a lot of stuff from that, and really helped us not have to figure stuff out. Like he has proven scripts that work on that first phone call, because it's different than a flex buyer call. These are leads that drop into your inbox, which then you have to do outreach and then have to book an appointment. And so it's a different dynamic, different skill set. But I mean, just having the availability and access to that was humongous, invaluable to us. And I think that on every level would be helpful to learn from other folks and see what they're doing and what's bringing them success. And we want to do the same for them too.
Right, man. All right, you got it. Hey, thank you. Someday you're going to let me know how I can repay all these favors.
Anytime.
But
You're doing plenty.